It's good to be here today, and I thank each and every one of you for being here today. I just wanted to share, I guess, about myself and my family. And back in June, I was invited to be part of the Red Dress project that they had here. They had red dresses hanging all over, and I have a artwork that's hanging over there that I completed in 2000, and it was a real special journey doing that project. And it's just interesting how, I don't know, I guess I was thinking about what I was going to say today and to share with everyone, and the idea of reconciliation and how that has evolved. And I guess for me, what really hit home for me was my grandparents, the late Joan Josephine Crochu. They were doing reconciliation before it was even called reconciliation. And so then I started reflecting on my family and thinking about that, like our acts of reconciliation and how we educate. Because to me, that's what reconciliation is about. It's about educating one another, and it's about honoring. And so, like I did this book with the Piikani Board of Education in Rocket. They asked me to interview elders to find out about their stories, about their life before, during, and after residential school. So the focus was more, like there was the pain and the hardship there, but there was also the day-to-day, how they survived. And to me, those stories of resilience and coping and strength, that's what, I guess, we live. Like me and my family, we live that. My mom, she went to residential school. And my husband, my late husband, he went to residential school in Port Alberni. My mom went to Sacred Heart Residential School. And for her, what really helped her to survive was her great-grandmother had raised her. She was part of that generation where the oldest, or a child from, in our Blackfoot ways, is given to the grandmother for her to raise. And so that's what happened to me. And she was delayed intake, and they didn't take her to school until she was 8 years old. So she had that foundation from my great-grandmother, and that helped her to survive. But it was still really traumatic. Like the first day that she went there, they cut her braids off. And for her, that act, it was like, she said when they cut her braids off, it was like they were cutting her grandmother away from her. Because her grandmother had braided her hair that morning before she went to residential school. And so that was really traumatic. But just the teaching she got from her, she still had turmoil. Like in our family, we have dealt with issues, trauma, social issues like drugs and alcohol and whatnot, like within our family, like within our people. But she still had that strength, and I think that's what I learned from her too. And then also my great-grandmother gave me the name Namtuinamskaki, which means medicine pipe bundle woman. And for a long time, I didn't really understand the true significance of that and how special it was, but it had been handed down in my family. There's a medicine man in our family on my grandfather's side. His name was Brings Down the Sun, and that name had been handed on from him. And so I was really blessed to have that name, and that really helped for me with my strength. And so getting back to my mom, like one of the things that she has done recently is this is a picture here. I have the actual doll at home. We have a little doll that was handed down through our family for over 100 years. You can just pass it around. And so that doll, she used that doll as a model to start making her own dolls, and these are medicine dolls. And they have a little pouch here. The innovation that she added was a little pouch. It has cedar, sage, tobacco, and sweetgrass in it. And she started making these and just giving them away in the family to special people. And then people were requesting them, so she did sell. She has sold some of them, but the main impetus is just as a family heirloom that's passed on. And the original one that we had, we took it to the Blackfoot Digital Library program at the university, and they did a 3D scan of it. It was really interesting when they seen the doll and they were photographing it, because they said that usually things from antiquity, they would just fall apart if you handled them, or you had to wear white gloves. But because it has been handed down in our family and our hands, we've had it on there, the oil from our hands has preserved it. And so to me that was really special, because in my artwork I have this theme with hands. And I guess that kind of came from, part of it came from one of the stories that is associated with my painting over there. The painting is called Her Hands, a tribute to Anime Aquash. Now Anime Aquash, you may have heard of her. She's had songs written about her, books written about her, all kinds of things told about her. And what happened to her was she was found murdered on the Pine Ridge Reserve, shot in the back of the head, a bullet to the back of the head in 1976. And part of the FBI's investigation, what they did was they cut off her hands and they sent them to Washington. And for me, I heard that story when I was younger, and it just always stuck with me, that story. And so when I was in an art class at the university, and they told us to come up with an idea for a painting. I guess that was one of the things I wanted to portray, one of the stories I wanted to share. And so there were other stories, like I knew about the jingle dress and that it's a healing dance. And so I kind of brought that together. And then my late husband is from Kitimat, BC, and the West Coast form-line design. That's where that inspiration came from. And so all those ideas kind of came together, and then I put my own handprints on the painting. And so for me, like as an artist, as a mother, as a woman, like our hands are so important and so special in what we do and how we convey like who we are, or what we believe in, or what we want to feed people, or how we want to dress, or anything like that. So I guess that's part of my, my belief. And then, so like with my mom, and she makes these, the medicine dolls, and then my son, he's a hip hop artist, and I'm so proud to say that he recently got selected to do a documentary for TELUS. It's going to be aired later, at a later date, TELUS On Demand, and it's about his hip hop journey in Lethbridge. And so as an young Indigenous person, and his hip hop journey, so I'm really proud, and he's an artist as well too. He made this shirt for me. It says "Every Child Matters," and it has roses on it, and he does all kinds of artwork. He's my following in our artistic footsteps, our family. So I'm really proud of that. And yeah, I have a map up here about the residential schools, and then I have the book. I'm kind of I was describing myself as a shy author, because this book, I interviewed elders on the reserve. One of them was my mom. Some of them have since passed on. One of them remained anonymous. And so it's their words that are the main focus in this book. I did do a personal reflections afterwards, but I was really hesitant to call myself an author, but then I was thinking about it, and I did do the reflections, and I have done other work at university where I connect my ideas with what I've been learning. So it's been an interesting process. But maybe I'll just see if you guys have any comments or questions or anything that you'd like to.
Do you have artwork locally that's displayed anywhere aside from the picture that's here at the library?
No, I don't. I used to. It was at the Blackfoot Art Gallery. But I do have lots of artwork at home. I did portraits of my late grandparents after they had passed away, and that was a challenge for me. Like, it was real emotional work that I did, and it wasn't too long after they had passed away. But I found pictures of them that really encapsulated who they were, and they're smiling in their portraits. So I'm really proud of that. And I've done mixed media work where I do beadwork on flags. I have a series of flags where I've done beadwork on them. And I've been working on my granddaughter's fancy dance regalia. It's a hummingbird design. So yeah, that's special.
Thank you.
I was wondering what the shoes and leggings.
Oh yeah. Okay, the dress and the painting. I did the painting first when I was at university, and then I stood back and I looked at it and I said, oh, now I gotta make the dress, because it just like, there it was. So I call it a work in progress because it's not done yet. There's a performance piece coming eventually. So after I did the dress, I applied for a Canada Council for the Arts Grant, and I got selected to stay home and do beadwork for a whole year. So that's the beadwork that you see here. It matches the beadwork on the painting. So they're fully beaded moccasins, leggings, and a belt. And feel free to come and have a look. Oh, Debbie.
What do you think the role of art is in the healing of a person's mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional journey?
It's really powerful. I'm a testament to that, because the things that I have gone through, like things that I've gone through that have come through just who I am. My mom is from Rocket, and then my dad is English, Irish, and Scottish. So through my blood are mixed blood, and that kind of, I don't know, that along with my grandparents helped me to try and see, to express, I guess, from different viewpoints and understandings. But it also created, there was traumas that I've had to deal with in my life too concerning that. I guess I'm kind of dancing around some of this stuff, but it's good, kind of deep stuff, but that's saying it in a nutshell. And so yeah, like if I didn't have that, to be able to focus, to put myself to, I don't know where I would have been. Like, I think about that sometimes, and it's kind of scary to think, but it's really, like, once I went to university, and I graduated in 2003, it was later in life, and I was really amazed, and it was like my mind just opened wide up, I don't know how to say that. My mind opened, and I was really amazed at what I had learned there, and really grateful, because that helped me to know who I was, and then also to know what I wanted to show to my children, to my family, to express to them, to help them in whatever way, to my community.
So it's obvious you're a very creative person. You do beadwork, you're an artist, you're an author, and I assume you're probably a very busy person too. So I'm wondering how you find the time, or maybe the energy for your creative pursuits in a world that is so busy.
Interesting you say that, because right now I help with my grandchildren. I have 4 grandchildren that live that I help with on a pretty much day-to-day basis. And my mom is elderly and she lives in Fort McLeod, and so I help her as well too. So I just, I'm blessed that I have jobs where I can work on my art as well too. I work at CASA as an instructor, and I'm able to work there. And then I also recently I'm back at the Blackfoot Family Lodge with the ladies there, and so I do the cultural enrichment program, so I'm able to work with them. But then just in the evening when I can, and just, I guess with my son and the work that he's doing now, it's like we both motivate and inspire and work with each other. Because what he's doing now, I'm really proud of, and to see that, like, to me, it's like an extension of me seeing him doing his work, and it's really means a lot. So I don't know if that answers.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask what your son's stage name is? Like what he raps under in
Oh,
case
it's-
we wanted to check it out?
Yeah, it's Heavy Knowledge. His name is Jerry Morrison. He's on Instagram. I don't know what that is. Yeah, it's really amazing what he's doing. He talks to me a lot about it and what he wants to convey, and that he wants to show that the hip hop scene, like there's the one version of the hip hop scene that you see that's the negative energies and stuff, but he wants to do it as an inspiration and a role model to the youth, that this is a way that you can express yourself in a positive way, reflecting our Indigenous worldview. So yeah, it's really cool.
People that want to purchase your book, how would they go about, like, where would they look for the book?
Right now, the book is only available to the students in Brockett at the school. Like, that was the focus of the book, was to show the students their history and their families. But I'm working on, so many people have been asking me about it, so I keep pushing for it. So if you're interested, just let me know, and I'm keeping a list and passing it on to those who have the power to get it done. Yeah. Maybe I should read an excerpt or something. Would you like that?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll have a seat and I will sit down here. I'll read something from my mom's, and then I'll read my personal reflections. So my mom went to the St. Cyprian's residential school from 8 years old to 16. And then afterwards she went on to work there as well too, because she wanted to help the children there. When they were there, they would kind of like build friendships, build bonds. And some of the older girls, the younger people, would call them mom. On coping. Our imagination and storytelling to teach each other in Blackfoot way was a way to cope. Of course, we'd get caught. My grandmother would come and visit, and she'd say, "You remember who you are. You're an Itzitapi, so don't speak to English to me." So that's one of the things that we do to remember who we are. We'd be talking, laughing, and running around when we're supposed to be in our bed. The supervisor would open her door and she'd catch us. Whoever it was, she'd call them into her room and spank them. At night when we go to the bed, the little and intermediate girls, we'd sneak into the bathroom with 2 bathtubs. We would take our bedding in there and pretend we were camping. We'd make our beds on the floor and lay down to go to sleep. Of course we'd get caught, but we never thought about getting caught. We just did what was fun. It was part of our coping skills to feel like we were camping. One time, we even made our beds down the middle of the aisle and put our mattresses there. She opened the door. All of us ran to our beds with just a blanket and the bare springs, and we jumped into the bed. Of course, those were the things that we laughed about because we thought they were funny. One day, we took all our belts, tied them together, then to her door. There was posts in the middle. We tied the belts around really tight, and she tried to open the door. She couldn't open the door. By the time she got out, everybody was in bed pretending to sleep. I think for me, that was part of coping with what was really happening. Even though we don't really realize what we were doing, psychologically, those were some of our coping skills. And I'll just share some on strength and resiliency. The teachings from the old ladies has been my strength and resiliency. I talked to my mother and my dad. My mother said, our traditions, that's our way of life. It may be a thin thread, but it's super strong, and it's coming back, it's growing. Our people, women in particular, have stories. I think if they brought them out for the future generation, that's strength. I say women because I get energy from those old ladies. Even though they're gone, I still pray and call on them. I remember my great-grandmother when I was a little girl. She told us the old people have gone on. Call them back. And they will help you. That's what it is for me anyways. It gives me a lot of strength. My prayers every day, doing my sweet grass. The old man tells us, when she says the old man, she's referring to her dad, Joe Croce, because my grandparents, that's what they call them, the old people. And it's honoring, it's a sign of respect when you say that. And he always told us, never let your smudge die, no matter what. Smudge every day. So I continue that myself as well. So maybe I'll share with you my personal reflections on the book. As a researcher writer, I have personal connection with the subject of residential schools in Piikani. My mother, Evelyn Kelman, was one of the elders I interviewed. She lived at the school and went on to work at St. Cyprian's residential school. As the eldest and following traditional Lifeway protocols, she was being raised by her grandmother. Then abruptly her life profoundly altered. Upon arrival at residential school, she was forcibly detached from her family when she described as, I felt that my grandmother was cut away from me when her braids were cut off. She was told that her mother tongue and traditional ceremonies were sinful and punishable. They would be told that if they were seen at the sun dance during the summertime, because they were allowed to go home for the summer, that if they were seen at the sun dance in the summertime, when they came back to school in the fall, that they would be punished because of that. And she remembers being at the sun dance and some of the kids going and running and hiding, but she said she refused to go and run and hide because she was proud of being able to do that and follow her ways. This sudden upheaval in her life produced trauma. And although I have not attended residential school, I, like so many from mine and subsequent generations, are referred to as intergenerational survivors. The range of social issues we face as a family are the same as many First Nations and communities, are the same as those many First Nations communities and families deal with. However, she resisted internally and honored what she knew in her heart to be true, despite the forced losses her time as a student at residential school. The traditional knowledge from her parents and grandparents helped sustain her during a difficult time. Her parents, my grandparents, were part of an underground movement to preserve ceremonial ways for future generations. The life stories from the elders in our community reflect a broader picture of the strength and perseverance across Canada. Having the honor of gathering stories and knowledge has increased my appreciation of their collective determination, strength, humor, pain, and wisdom. When I started working on this project, my husband, Barry Morrison, he's from the Haisla Nation in Kitimat, BC, and he also attended residential school in Port Alberni, BC. He would work with me on this project. He would do the camera work and the audio and just come with me. And we were so blessed to be able to drive to elders' homes and sit and visit with them and drink tea and talk. And he connected with, usually with the men, he'd connect with them, so that was really special. And his understanding of residential school experience quickly made him more than just the cameraman. And his contribution for his being on this project was part of his healing process. And Barry, my husband, passed away in March of 2018. And so yeah, when I had the book release of this in Brockton, it was really, it was just after COVID, so it was kind of it was a bittersweet time because there wasn't that many people there, but it was really good. Any more comments or questions?
And you're a terrific person, and I love you.
Oh, I love you, Debbie. Not just because we have the same name.
What was the process like for interviewing? How did you approach like these topics with them? Was it more of an open-ended conversation?
I did both. Yeah, I did open-ended and like for some of the basic information, where they went, where they were born. They were all born in Brockton at the Brockton Hospital. And then a lot of it was just life story that would emerge from the interviews. Some of them were longer, some of them were shorter, depending on where they were in their healing process, how much they wanted to share. Some of them went in depth, some of them didn't. So it was a range, and it was really, it never ceased to amaze me, like how special it was. And we would go to them with tobacco and a blanket, and they got paid as well too. And so yeah, we offered to either go to their home or meet them at, there's a place in Brockton called Piikani Traditional Knowledge Services, and they offered their space where we could sit and do the interviews with the camera. And so it was up to them too, if they wanted to remain anonymous or if they wanted to be recorded or just audio recorded, and there was a range in that. And I think most of them agreed to the recording, so now they have a collection, a vast collection that they can share with the community of their families' interviews as well too. Yeah.
So they have the collection of the individual interviews?
Yeah. Yeah.
Parents can go and view those or?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if they have it available for the families right now, but that's what their goal is, eventually to have that.
Maybe eventually maybe use them as singles film or something?
That's interesting. That could be a good plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Positive, like edited.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my son, he's into filmmaking and production, so who knows?
As a true family project.
Yeah. I don't know what the time is right now. How is, oh, okay, we're good. I'm just gonna have a drink of water. You guys can think of some questions.
Which his films? Which is
Jerry, my
Jerry?
middle son.
Oh, the hip hopper?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
And that's a J or a G?
Jay. Yeah. And his stage name is Heavy Knowledge. Yeah, he's with Mom right now over at the Afro Festival because Mom got invited there to do the opening blessing for that.
Oh, good.
So that must have also been difficult for you to hear all those stories. I know it's obviously very important but to hear so many of them.
Yes.
How did you manage that, and what was the time? Were you able to spread it out?
The interviews took place from, I have it right here. Beginning in January 2017, and then we finished in, I think it was in 2019, the interviews were done. So yeah, I have good self-care. So there were times when I would have to debrief with someone or just do things that would just take me away, give me a break from it. Because yeah, some of it was heavy and some of it I would just feel exhausted. Like if I had to do, I would try not to do more than 2 interviews in a day. So yeah, so we would find ways in smudging, our traditional ways. Whatnot really helped as well too. So, yeah.
How many hours did it take you? Did you work the hours for the beaver?
Oh, the beadwork, it took me, I think it was a few months. I just, like, I got to sit outside with my cat. It was so cool. The bulk of the grant was for my living allowance. And I purchased the supplies as well too. And so it was really cool to sit there and work on it. And so yeah, my vision for that project is where it'll eventually be I did apply for a grant and I got turned down, but it has been a while, so I need to reapply. And so it'll be where the painting comes to life, because it'll just like the dancer will be right in front of the painting, and it'll be, I don't know, I just want to try and maybe share some of the stories around the painting, and then have it where the painting, the dancer, where it'll come to life. It was a real spiritual process when I was making the dress even, and I just ironing those black lines on, and I had special dreams where the ancestors were acknowledging and like blessing my project, because the dress is reflective of the button blanket tradition, the West Coast. So I have shell buttons on there, and that's where that inspiration came from. And so the dream that I had elders who had button blankets on them, and they came to me, and there was a big gathering of women, and it was really special. And so I felt really honored that